Hello and welcome to my second Warhammer 40k presentation. If you didn't see the first one, I highly recommend you do so. Otherwise, we do have a couple of slides to cover the lore that was previously deduced from the first presentation. All very accurate, all very real, and all very coherent. If you want to read these slides, I recommend you pause. Just from corrections and amendments based on the last presentation. You know, of all the mistakes I could have made, mixing up the 41st century with the 41st millennium is basically the only thing I couldn't afford to get wrong, and I did get that wrong, so that's awesome. The other thing was the creature that I identified as a type of hellbug also looked very similar to Vashtor. I didn't realize that until I was editing the video, so this is me now confirming that Vashtor is indeed a hellbug because the pictures were the same. I just didn't put those two things together in the moment. This also means that Azrael and the Dark Angels did indeed fight Vashtor before he joined the Empire. So that's cleared that up. Now on to the new content. Warmaster Horus Lupercal. Lupercal? Let's go Lupercal. Warmaster Horus Lupercal, Primarch of the Lunar Wolves. See, the image that spoke to me first was the image that I had seen before in the first presentation, and that is when the original Emperor was killed by the current Emperor of Mankind. And there you can see that Horus Lupercal is in the background of that. So this clearly means that the Lunar Wolves were present in destroying the old Emperor and taking over, so they must be aligned with the Empire under the current Emperor. And the Lunar Wolves, while it is like reminiscent of the structure of the other Space Marines, these guys are actually not technically Space Marines. The Lunar Wolves are more of like a King's Guard situation, so they serve rather directly under his service in the royal halls, and are occasionally present in battles of great importance to the Emperor personally. Now, Horus Lupercal is, as Primarch, is the leader of that group. And as another Primarch under the Emperor, he's also aware of the current sort of like undead chair state that the Emperor currently resides in. You might see the wolf, the dead wolf that is over the shoulders of Horus's armor. And that was his friend. That was actually his foster father. He was raised by wolves, and now he wears his dead dad across his shoulders to respect his passing. Erebus? Love these names. Erebus, Dark Apostle of the World Bearers, Architect of the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy. Now, the Horus Heresy, I'll probably have to explain that because we were just talking about Horus in the previous slide. So the Horus Heresy was actually the name of the act when they took out the former Emperor and placed a new one. As Horus was the one to kill the old Emperor, he actually drove the blade through him, ending the life. It was named after him. And Erebus was the architect of the Horus Heresy, meaning he came up with the plan to get rid of the old Emperor and appoint the new one. Now, Dark Apostle of the World Bearers, what could that possibly mean? Well, the World Bearers were a group of people under the original Emperor, and apostles were among them. That was a religious traditional title under the original Emperor, and he was labeled as a Dark Apostle once he betrayed the old Emperor in service of the new one. He's no longer considered an apostle technically because the World Bearers do not exist as a faction because they were dismantled as the new emperor took control. However, he still has that title because of the historical significance of that moment. Okay, let's go. You know, every now and then there's letters in places I've never seen them before in the structure of names and words. But I do recognize that one. I should be really split screening this so I can refer to my old notes. Insan, avatar of the elder god of the Aeneid. So I definitely recognize the woman. If you look in the center image, the woman on the right, that is the person that I definitely remember the name of. Let me just check my notes. Ivrain. So Insani is not the deity specifically Aeneid, but it is a form they take when they want to travel the mortal realms. Now, as I described Ivrain as an elf previously, you can clearly tell that Aeneid is an elven deity. Yes, and while Ivrain is generally like a person that fights for herself and really no one else, she doesn't exactly have a particularly strong factional ties. She does have a religious affiliation to Aeneid. In times of great struggle in battle, worshippers of Aeneid can summon Incarni, which takes a great deal of soul power magic. As anytime Incarni is present, raw, wild magic consistently flows from her. You can see the sort of blue, wavy effects that is coming from her. It's actually, even to be in her presence is quite the challenge, only for the most powerful of people or truest of believers to survive the proximity. Very powerful, quite difficult to deal with on the battlefield, but does not last very long because of the chaotic nature in which she is summoned. Yeah, I think that's probably good enough. The living saint, Celestine, servant of the Emperor of the Adepta Sororitas Order of Our Martyred Lady. You know, occasionally you read a bunch of words and then it takes a couple more readings of it to actually, like, mean anything at all. Because I said all of the words on the page, but I don't know what I said. Now, as in real-world religions, saints tend to only be saints once you die. Like, someone is dead, they lived a good life, and then they are appointed sainthood by the remaining religious bodies that they belong to. But what happens when you're brought back to life? And this is kind of what happened here. So, she was of not a specifically female fighting force, but one of the traditional imperial sub-factions under the emperor that allowed female warriors. And Celestine was quite good. She lived such a holy life that when she died, she was appointed sainthood. However, due to what is attributed to be divine intervention, but really was a crazy, strange accident involving a lot of soul magic, she was brought back to life. So she became the first ever saint to return to the mortal world, and she still diligently follows the orders of the emperor. And because, because she is so close with the emperor, that also puts her in many situations. She will be in the same location, fighting side by side with the Lunar Wolves. Khan, the betrayer of the World Eaters, the champion of Khorne. I know these words. These words I understand. This is good. So, the World Eaters, as we previously described, were not imperially tied, in fact, enemies of the empire of mankind. They ate. They effectively consumed the cause of worlds, meaning that in order to survive as a faction, they needed to continue to conquer worlds and destroy them. Khan was a very good world eater. He fought with that faction for a long, long time, until one day he realized, maybe all this conquering is not actually that particularly moral. I don't know if I want to do this with my life anymore. And so what he did is turn his back on his faction, which left him effectively gravely wounded and abandoned. And in his time of trouble, on death's door, he was visited by Khorne, which I believe was the chaos god of hell. Yep, that's what I said last time. Which imbued him with a new transformed physical form and a new sense of purpose to thrive in the destruction of his former faction, the World Eaters. And now he attempts to destroy their faction in the name of his new god. There's a very good chance that all this time you've been able to hear the cicadas in the background, and I've only just picked up on that. Let's hope that's not detrimental to the audio. Lion L. Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels, I didn't realize I was going to be doing this much summarizing of my old video and the new video, but the Dark Angels were a subset of the Space Marines. They were not blue, they wore green, and they dealt predominantly with demonic threats, as can be seen in the center image. Lion L. Johnson is the Primarch of the Dark Angels, and so he's like captain of that unit. And you'll notice some interesting, I was going to say iconography, but some similar objects. You can kind of see a passage of time here, because on the left there is no circle spiky thing like there is on the middle and right images, but in the middle image he's fighting a greater demon, as the Dark Angels tend to do, and you can see that circle with the spiky thing. That is actually a soul compass, which is an object very useful for acquiring soul power and fueling yourself in battle. He defeated the greater demon, and then in the right image you can see him with that same object on his as part of his armor, so he now uses demon technology to beat demons. So he's very resourceful. He's got little wings on his helmet because it fits the theme of angels. Oh, Necrons again. All right. Illuminor Zeres. Illuminor Zeres. Necron Siptech Technomancer. Architect of Necron Biotransference. 40k in their titles. They just keep going, don't they? So the Necrons are divided into the two dark dynasties of Mars and Pluto, I believe. So Illumina Zeres, I'm going to call him Zeres, belongs to one of those factions. He belongs to the less traditional and more survival-oriented and conquering dynasty of Mars. As a technomancer, he fights utilizing technology-based magic, which is somewhat common within Necron societies. That's kind of something that they specialize in. And as the architect of Necron Biotransference, he was the one that was first responsible for putting the little tiny pink alien forms into the big metal suits in the first place. So he is largely responsible for modern Necron society as we know it. So he's a very big deal. He can also do it to, if you see that image on the right, suck the flesh from warriors in real time and then use them to make big flesh balls, which he can use to either send out as gooey projectiles or recharge his fluids for technomancy. He's a very gross man. That's the end of that sentence. Fulgrim, Fulgrim, that looks like Phoenix, so I'm going to say Phoenician. The Illuminator, the Profector Orchimos, Primarch of the Emperor's Children and Demon Prince, that's Demon, I know that word, Demon Prince of Slaanesh. Oh, okay. So, the interesting thing about assorting all of this lore is eventually there's slight contradictions that come up, but that's okay, because I'm gonna, it's a very big world, it's very complicated, of course they're gonna have things that clash at certain points, and it's not my fault, because I'm not making this up, it's their fault, and I'm doing a very good job explaining the actual real good lore of all of this that's happening. So, Fulgrim, let's get it out of the way. As one of the Emperor's children, he is in a way like whatever that guy's, the fleshy dude, something the Eternal, Lucius the Eternal, but because he was born prior to the sort of undead state that the Emperor now resides in, he is not gross and weird like the Eternal dude. So he's basically a normal human. He is a great human. I shouldn't say normal, because that sort of contradicts all of the many titles that are present on screen. So he used to serve under the Emperor. He was good with birds, as can be seen. That's why they call him the Phoenician, because he worked with phoenixes, which were trained animals, less in service in battle and more utility oriented for communications, deliveries, that kind of thing. But he was also very good at fighting. And then one day he decided that I don't really like how the Emperor does things. One day he had a really tough conversation with his dad, and then he kind of went on had a few days where he's like, oh man, I hate you, Dad. I don't like what I do anymore. And in this moment of weakness and struggle with his sense of self and purpose and, family struggles, his heart was vulnerable to Slaanesh. So, as a Chaos God, Slaanesh found that, this would be someone good to exploit because they are struggling and are powerful, and so transformed him from a human, as can be seen on the left, and turned him into a demon prince, which can be seen in the middle image and the right image. So he got 2 extra arms, got big wings, I think there's no legs anymore, he's snake below the waist, which it can't be comfortable, but he seems to be, he's smiling in the last image, so, it's not all bad, but he now is an adversary of the Imperials, and would often, as a demon prince, he is demonic, and therefore clashes with the Dark Angels occasionally. So, and he's called the Illuminator because he uses soul power to make things glow. Pretty sure that covered everything. Orc Warboss Gazgakul Mag Uruk Thraka, Prophet of Gork and Mork and the Warg. That could all be made up nonsense and there'd be no way for me to know. I recognize that image. That center image, I've seen it before. Where have I seen it before? I think that image was present when I was talking about the Commissar guy, Seb. So that means that the Orcs, which is another new faction, not really tied to any other factions we've talked about previously. They are technologically savvy, but a bit more rustic than sort of the Necron types. Gazkakal, in the middle image, is fighting the Commissar because as the Oreo Perfectus, no, what was he called? What was their group called? Officio Perfectus, that was pretty close actually. As the Officio Perfectus were a mercenary group that fought on many sides at different times depending on who was paying them. Eventually, they ended up fighting the Orcs. Now, because Seb is good as what he did, he killed a lot of people. One of those was including Gazkahul Mag Thraka's father. And so now the Orcs within Gazkahul's sub-faction seek out revenge on him specifically, and to a lesser extent the greater Officio Perfectus. And so, even though Officio Perfectus is serving whichever side is paying them, this specific group of orcs are consistently hunting them for vengeance. Unrelated, but you also might be seeing the images in the left and right, and you'd be like, wow, that's pretty intense imagery. What's that about? The orcs, the main thing outside of specific orcs seeking vengeance, the main thing is they're trying to start the apocalypse, and they believe that after they conquer and abandon a world, they are serving up to their deity, which doesn't have a name. Well, it does, but they don't know the name. They just regard it in generic terms like God. So when they conquer the world and abandon the world, they're serving up on a platter for their deity to consume. And if they do that enough, the apocalypse will start, and after the apocalypse, they will have thriving lives in their concepts of heaven. There's a horse. There's a robot horse. Arcadian Leontus, Lord Commander Solar of the Astra Militarum. None of those words, all of those words are new. I'm pretty sure all of those words are new. Alright, so as you can tell by the gold and the similar armor designs and the presence of birds, this guy, as well as the Astra Militarum, are also imperially aligned. They do not have the sort of strength and stature as the Primarchs, nor the station of like the lunar guys, Horus and friends. But what you don't see too much in the 40k universe, because it's not as flashy, is the thousands, probably millions of just ground troops, the normal guys that don't have the big beefy armor. And most of the ground troops are considered part of the Astra Militarum. And Arcadian is the Lord Commander of this group, so he is effectively the general of the regular soldiers. He is also kind of a regular soldier. He doesn't have soul power or anything. He's very good at not dying, but he's also tactically smart, and is good at utilizing troops in large masses so that victory is acquired, but also so that he personally doesn't die ever. He's a little selfish, possibly to a detriment to the Empire as well. He kind of sucks. But aside from that, he's good at what he does. Okay, so I can't really complain when there's too many words, and then complain also when there's not enough words. But I wanted to do that. The Tyranids, while they look hellish, they are not demonic. They are sort of like a alien hive mind. They don't really think like people. They're much more animalistic. so they don't have like orders or factions. They're all sort of part of one larger being, spawn of some alien queen. Their whole thing is just spreading the domain of the hive. They don't really have understanding of the actual sort of war between sentient creatures. They just want to spread and fight and devour and take control. They just serve the queen. Oh, that's the last one. Great. Thank you again for watching this very thoughtful, deep, and comprehensive look into the world of Warhammer 40k. Once again, if you have questions about any of the lore that I know so much about, be sure to ask in the comments. This, you know, I won't know until I go back and look at this, but this one definitely felt more like a disaster than the last one.